The Caribbean is often described as the most tourism-dependent region in the world. A titan is described as one that stands out for greatness of achievement, one who is influential in his field. I'm Marline Stephenson Dalley. Welcome to our podcast. We call it Tourism Titans. It's about the movers and shakers of the industry. Men and women who have contributed to its growth and development in Jamaica, the region, and indeed, the world. Welcome once again to Jamaica's Tourism Titans. I'm Marline Stephenson Dalley, and it is an absolute pleasure for me today to have as my special guest on this, our 13th episode of the program, Dr. the Honourable Godfrey Glengoffe Dyer, OJCDJP, a true titan. We started this program with our Honourable Minister, Edmund Bartlett, and what a delight it is to close this season with Dr. the Honourable Godfrey Dyer. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We won't even begin by giving all of the different awards and accolades that you have received over your lifetime. We're just going to get straight into it, and I say welcome to the program.
Thank you very kindly. It's so nice to be with you.
Yes, I've been waiting for this for some time,
Yes.
I've been chasing him around a little bit, but he's a busy man, and
Nothing happens before the time.
Miss Amy, one son, one
Yes.
picnic for that matter.
One picnic.
One child for
Yes.
our international listeners who may
Yes.
not understand the term picnic. Who named you?
My mother, my loving mother, Amy Morgan.
Tell me a little bit about your mom, because as an only child, I'm sure she had quite an impact on you.
She certainly had. As I said, only child. She had me when she was 16.
Mm-hmm.
She got married to not my father, someone else, when she was 20. I was 4. And I lived with them. They were married for over 60 years. Clarence Morgan, one of the nicest men in this world. He had no children, so I was the only one.
So you're spoiled then.
And not spoiled, but they took good care of
They
me.
took good care of you. You grew up in Sanguinetti?
Yes.
And that's in the parish of
Clarendon. Yes.
Take us back a little
Just
bit.
outside of Spalding. And about 2 miles east of Spalding.
Okay. What was it like in those days growing up in Sanguinetti?
Beautiful, cool climate. My stepfather was a farmer. Banana, yam, coffee, everything. He was quite a farmer. And he lived until he was 92.
Wow.
My mother also lived until she was 91.
So you are from a family of long
I'm from a
livers.
family, yes,
Oh,
yes.
that's very nice, and I mean that's comforting too, because you think you will get some of those genes.
I think so, because I'm 85.
You're 85.
Yes.
Time flies.
Yeah.
Oh my
I was
goodness.
85 just the 4th of March.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, belated happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Tell me though, in terms of your routine growing up, going to school, that sort of thing, what are some of the things that you recall that were things that you enjoyed doing, things that you got into trouble for, those kinds of things?
I got into trouble for everything. But I tell you, growing up, as I said, my stepfather was a farmer. And once I was able to start assisting in the farm, holidays, farming. But my mother saw to it that I go to school. I didn't go to a high school. I went to primary school. I went to Sanguinetti Primary School and up to 5th class. I moved to Spalding, where I did first, second, and third Jamaica local examination. Third Jamaica is the equivalent of 8
of what we have now, which is the
yes,
Caribbean
eight
examination.
subjects, yes.
8 subjects, yes.
It's equivalent of that. So I did that. When in my community, when you qualify up to that period,
Yes.
there are 3 choices: the police force, teaching, or
Postmistress or
yes,
Yes.
postmistress was one of them.
or nurse.
Our nurse,
Yes.
nurse was the
Yes.
main thing.
Yes.
Police, nursing, yeah. So a number of my colleagues went to the other 2 professions, if you
Right.
call them that.
Yes.
I liked the police force.
What did you like about it?
Uh,
The uniform.
the uniform.
Because there was a time when you say young girls love men in a uniform.
That's what I was going to say. The policemen had the nicest girls.
Yes, 'cause they have this
So
beautiful
that was
shine
an
shoes
yes,
and
shine
nice,
shoes sharp. So
their
that was an
uniform.
incentive. And the first time I applied, went, did the exam, passed the exam. I was 5'7", and I had to be 5'8".
8.
And they wouldn't take you under
Wow.
5'8". They said go back and grow.
And grow at
And
that
grow.
age.
And I was then maybe about 18. And I got a job at Spalding at Knox College. They had a printry, Knox Educational Services. Got a job there. Worked there for a year and a half. Grew 1.5 inches.
Seriously?
Yes. And went back, got the test, went through.
Had the height requirement.
Had
and
the
then
height
got in.
requirement.
Yes.
I'd actually done the test already. I didn't have much more to do. And I took off. 12th of June, 1959, I joined the police force.
And what was that part of your journey
It was
like?
quite an experience. The training school was at Port Royal. I went, first time I'm sleeping out of my house.
Oh, my goodness.
First time. And second time I was going to Kingston. I went there once before for a day. Anyhow, started at training school. Everything was working. The first night I started looking straight to my home in Clarendon. I went to the window.
You wanted to go back?
Wanted to go back. Anyhow, I started liking it. And it was the middle of the month, as I said. So when end of month came, my pay was £30 a month. I got £15 for the 2 weeks.
Okay.
I was there.
Is that a lot of money then?
A whole lot of money. Whole lot of money. And why I'm telling you this, it's an interesting story. I got my £15. You had to sign at canteen. I was owing the canteen £3.
For all your meals?
I went and paid them the £3. I put £1 in my pocket and put the rest in a jacket, hung up, my clothes hung up and all that. Went to classes. Came back the evening. We decided to go and have a drink now. Push my hand in the pocket.
Your
nothing.
£11 gone?
Gone. I couldn't believe it because at that stage I didn't know police could thief. I didn't know, it was a shocking thing to me.
Oh my
I
goodness.
thought policemen were perfect people.
Yes, yes.
And my first pay, I lost it except £4.
Oh my goodness.
Never forget it. Never.
I'm sure
forget
that must have made quite a mark on you,
So I spent 6 months there, got through all my exams, graduated. This was about December 15, middle of December. They kept me in Kingston at Central until the 6th of January, 1960. Transferred me to Port Maria in St. Mary.
Okay.
And in St. Mary, I served Port Maria, Highgate, Gale over a 2.5 year period. they were applying for, there were vacancies in Kingston for detectives and special branch detective. There are two sections of
Two
it.
separate, yes.
Special branch is the Secret Service. I applied, both of them called me for the test. I went, I passed both tests. Both of them called me to come in, but the special branch was a little more elitist over, so I
So you
chose
chose that
special
one.
branch. And I served special branch for another 8 months or so in Kingston. Transferred to Montego Bay the 3rd of October 1963. And I've lived in Montego Bay since.
You've been
I
here
spent
since.
a total of 13 and a half years in the force. Went to the rank of detective corporal. I resigned in 1972, I think March.
Yes.
And went into private business.
All right. So you had a career going in the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
Yes.
And obviously you would have moved around a bit. You'd have gained a lot of experience. You were brought here into Montego Bay
Yes.
in 1963
Yeah.
to work at the airport, right?
At the airport mainly. And I was responsible. It were 3 of us transferred here. And we're responsible to set up a system there that checks everybody coming into the island.
Into the island, yes.
And anybody that they had a watch list on, we would report it. Sometimes they have to be monitored for the period they're here. To the extreme with some of them, you report back to their country if you saw anything. And that was my main activity. You have to provide security. Haile Selassie, I had the pleasure of one of his security people for 4 days.
When he came to
When
Jamaica.
he came to Jamaica.
Yes.
He was in Montego Bay, stayed at the Montego Beach Hotel. And I worked with him for 4 days.
What was that
Prince-
like? I
Quite an
remember
experience.
just from the history and everything. Yes, I'm trying to not date myself, so I'm saying I wasn't around. But I was just a little baby. But you see all the pictures of the place being lined,
Yes.
and people saying this is
Quite exciting.
you know, and the Rastafarian
And the Rastafarians,
community
they were
was
so
just
excited
yes,
about
yes.
it. But it was quite an experience. I also had the pleasure of Prince Reynard of Monaco.
Okay.
Was here for 10 days over Christmas. And I was one of the 2 people assigned to him for that period.
Nice.
Those were 2 of the outstanding people. I also had to work with undesirables, unknown to them,
Yes.
to report back. But Special Branch was a very interesting.
Yes.
I loved it.
Sure, a great learning experience
Yes,
for
great
you.
learning
Yes.
experience. Great learning.
But like all things, good things, sometimes they come to an end, and you moved on into
I moved on
entrepreneurship.
because it was good, and I saw opportunities in Montego Bay because it's a long story. I'm not going to go through all of it, but I had a car. The rent-a-car was in demand here. Only 2 rent-a-car companies were here.
Martins was around?
No, Martins was not rent-a-car. They were a tour
The
company.
tour company, yes.
It was Bullins was one, and I still remember the other one, but the only 2 of them were Heinz Rent-A-Car.
Okay.
And when it comes to peak period, they didn't have enough cars, so they
Yes.
would take private individual cars and rent. And insurance was easy. I could go to the insurance company and cover my thing just for 1 week.
Just for the period.
Just for the period of rental. So I started giving them my private car, made enough money, bought a car from it, give them full time.
All right.
Bought another one, give them
Big
full time.
businessman in no time.
Dennis Morgan, who
Yes.
is my adopted brother, I said, Dennis was teaching in Port Maria. I said, Dennis, I'm making money. Borrow money, buy a car. He borrowed money, bought a car, put it in the system.
Yes.
Every weekend he comes on until we had a few. I said, Dennis, leave the teaching. That time I'm still in the force. And come start. And that's how he came to Montego
Yes.
Bay. He lived with me for the first year or 2. And after things moving, and I saw the opportunities. And a friend of mine I got in friendship with a couple from U.S. They built a villa in Iron Shore. They said, Godfrey, look after this villa for me. Still in the force. So I started monitoring it and making money. I said, no, boy, I have to leave.
Yes.
So I left and started the villa business and an insurance brokerage business.
Okay.
And Dennis was going on with the car. And I built up a taxi thing. At one stage, I was owning a fleet of 10 taxis. And that taxi thing went on. Then I branched out, managing this villa for my friend from the U.S. It did very well, a villa in Spring Farm. So these things, when I saw the many opportunities, I said, boy, I love the force, but I love money more. So I resigned and went full-time now into villa management and
the insurance company.
And the insurance brokerage company. Then the iInsure started building up. And villas and not hardly anybody lived in iInsure.
There's a lot of bush at the time.
Villas were for rental only. And I was managing 40 villas at one stage.
Wow.
After I got involved in it, this was after about 3-4 years in the business. I was bringing down my own charter out of Boston. For 2 years out of Boston, 219 people on it plane, just exclusively for me.
your villas, yes.
And other years with Java, we brought charters out of North and South Dakota, and we did extremely well with the villas, and then it went on until I left 72. In 77, about January 77, Dr. Elimaya, who owned Wexford, had 16 rooms, which includes 6 one-bedroom apartments, called me and said, I want to see me. I said, all right, go and see. He said, Godfrey, I heard you're doing all kinds of things, and I'm not getting any business in here. Can you help me with it? I said, well, let's talk and talk. And I start generating some business with him. And in 2 months, he did well. He called me again and said, Godfrey, why don't you buy the place? I don't have much money.
Yes.
But I was ambitious. And I said, all right, let's talk. And we talked and we agreed. And how much you want for it? He said, I want 125,000. That time it was almost the equivalent of US. No, we finally agreed on 100,000. And I said, but I don't have all of this money. And I made arrangement to give him a deposit.
This is 100,000 what dollars?
Jamaican dollars.
Jamaican dollars.
But at the time it was nearly 100,000.
Yes, based on the exchange
US,
rate and everything.
Yes. And made arrangement to pay him over 2 years, a payment plan. And I took over April 1, 1977.
You have to tell me how come your memory is so sharp, you know? You have to tell me the secret because you are so good with dates and
some
details.
Of these dates I don't lose them.
Oh, my goodness.
I took over April 1, 77. He flew out April 2. Anyhow, I knew I would get it for less. I didn't know it was going away.
He left the island.
He left the island.
Oh, my goodness.
And I started paying every 3 months. And 1 year later, I had about half of the money left. He called me and said, Godfrey, he was in Canada, having some problem. You think you could pay me a little? I called my banker, Dunbar McFarlane.
Yes.
He said, yes, man. I said, yes, you can come for it.
Oh, my goodness. So he came and got his difference.
Came and got his money.
And then you took over payment of
your
loan.
And then 2 years later, where the big building is now, that wasn't part of it. His mother owned a Shilton apartment, a guest house there. The mother died. Herbie Eldemire got it. And I bought it from Herbie Herbie squeezed me with it, I must say. He finally got about 200,000 for that side. All right. And a little later, I knocked down those buildings and put up the one what you see there now.
And we're talking, listeners, about the
The
Wexford.
Wexford.
The Wexford.
But the Wexford was a good property.
Yes, what was then Gloucester Avenue, now the
Yes,
Jimmy Cliff
the
Boulevard,
Jimmy Cliff Boulevard.
in Montego Bay.
Yes. So that is my little history. and I close it up by saying how in 2005 I leased 100 rooms out at
Sea
Castles.
Yes.
Spent about 10 million refurbishing them. Opened it the Friday.
I
Had
remember
about
that.
half a dozen guests check in. They put the manager there. The Saturday morning, the manager called me and said if I could send out. I don't remember what it was there. I said yes. Afterwards, I said, let me take it out. I took out whatever it was, gave it to her. And the chef was in the kitchen. I walked in there. Him saying, going to his storeroom. I went to his storeroom. Walk ahead of him, coming back to the kitchen. The door was closed. As I reached the door, I hear blow, explosion, and I was engulfed
In flames.
in a blaze and I ran and jumped in the swimming pool and put out the blaze. Ran back to see what was happening in the kitchen. I saw another girl coming out with blaze, and I grabbed her and took her
in the pool.
and put her in the pool and put out and pull her out and run back. There's another one.
Oh, jeez.
So there are two girls there, and I put out the blaze with them. And that time I felt nothing, only know my clothes was burnt off. And I finally, they took me to Cornwall Regional, flew me out to Jackson Memorial the following day. I spent 12 weeks in Jackson. The first week, 6 weeks unconscious, induced, but I didn't know anything for
because
the first
the level
6
of
weeks.
pain that you would have been having.
And nobody thought I would come back to anything. And that was how I ended up selling Wexford. Because I didn't think I would be around for much longer.
Would you say that has been one of the greatest challenges that you've had?
The greatest.
Yes.
The greatest challenge I've had is that one.
Outside of the medical care that you got and the resilience, and the faith of the people around you, what would you say would have been the greatest thing that took you through that period of time?
I must tell you, Odette and I started dating about 3 months before that. Odette took care of me. She was one of the reasons that brought me back to what I am today. I owe her. It's true. She took such good care of me. She would come to Miami and she'd come back. It was amazing. And I married her 2 years later.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. We're listening to Dr. the Honourable Godfrey Glengoffe Dyer. He's my special guest on Jamaica's Tourism Titans. And just before we take the break, I want to talk a little bit about your involvement in the business community. You've worn so many hats.
Yes.
President of the JHTA, Vice President of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, and you have been a part of the fabric of Montego Bay. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about...
I got involved in a number of things. Maybe I talk too much or something. People always calling up on me to do this and do that. It started 1981. It was. I was elected president of the JHTA, and I had a great year. A number of things I was asked to lead, and I led. And Butch Stewart, who was my good friend at one time, about halfway, Mr. Siaga called us industry into Kingston on Friday. He wanted to see us. And Mr. Siaga said to us, and inbound people, everybody who earned
foreign exchange.
Ladies and gentlemen, I call you to tell you. As of Monday, this is Friday now, all your foreign exchange will be deposited to the Bank of Jamaica. And Bank of Jamaica will pay you JA dollars for it.
Wow.
About 75 of us in the room. The room silent when they heard that. Mayor J. State President, me supposed to respond.
I can imagine.
I got up and I said, Mr. Prime Minister, with regret, sir, we will not be able to cooperate with you. We are not prepared, Mr. Prime Minister, to earn our money, work so hard, take it to Bank of Jamaica, and go back there and line up to get money to travel. Very sorry, sir. We can't do it. Room silent. Everybody expect Mr. Siaga to run me out of the room. Mr. Siaga took a break and said, Mr. Dyer, would you be willing to meet with the governor of the Bank of Jamaica tomorrow? I said, yes, sir. He said, okay. Set up a meeting. Meeting set 10 o'clock Saturday morning to discuss the detail of it. People nearly lift me up when the whole thing finished because knowing Mr. Siaga and the way he took it, it's a long time. I'm not going to go through it. We finally met. That was a long problem. We couldn't agree on anything. We set what we want.
Yes.
Account has to be opened, run by a board, 50% JHT, 50% government, and governor wouldn't agree. It said, can't happen. You know. So the meeting was at Jamaica House this Saturday. Mr. Siaga walked in and said, how is it? I said, we're not reaching anywhere. So he said, what happened? I told him what we're doing. I said, but the governor, who was Headley Brown, said it can't happen. The law doesn't allow it. The law would have to change. He said, well, we'll change the law. And we got it.
Yes.
We got it. Opened, run. A board set up. And why me just mention this? Supposed to be, I wanted 5 and them 5. They said, no. Tony Abrams negotiated me the night before and said, we can't give you 5. We have to make you 4.
And 6. And they get 6.
And then me say, all right. And so we went and set with it. So we're having a meeting now to elect our 4. Butch had to go away and say, Godfrey, I want to be one of the directors. So make sure I'm one. I said, I'll try. He was going to Miami. So we met, and they said, no, Butch can't be. These are 4 people, including me. Butch came back the following day, called me, and said, boy, and Butch mad with me from that and started running against me. And he ended up beating me at the election. He came in with 27 proxies. I had 5, and he won me by 7 votes. 7 votes. You know? So that's something. But what is interesting, again, leading to the next position, we had the election, Butch won. A week after he won, courtesy call on the Prime Minister. As the immediate past president, I was invited. After the meeting finished, got up. Prime Minister, everybody there. Godfrey, are you coming into Kingston anytime next week? I said, yes, sir. I wasn't going nowhere, no, but no. He said, could you stop by Jamaica House? I need to see you. I said, yes, sir. I don't know why, you know. My dear, we had a retreat at Negril that very day. Weekend, we went Negril. Everybody, Godfrey, what you want you for? I don't know. The Monday, I call and tell him I'll be in Kingston Tuesday. He said, come, stop by there. When I went, there was this agency called, so remember the name, that managed National Hotels and Properties. Managed that time, all the hotels were owned by government now.
Yes.
19 hotels. Mr. Siaga asked me if I would be willing to chair that company. I nearly drop off of the chair. I said, yes, sir. And I chaired it for 5.5 years. Yes.
It's a long story.
Long story.
I tell you.
My story is long.
It's a long story, but a very interesting story,
Yeah.
and one that speaks of advocacy,
Yes.
of resilience, of just being steadfast
Yes.
in
Maybe
what
the
you have to
final
do.
thing I'll tell you. Kiwanis. Got involved in Kiwanis.
All right, stick up in, because we're going to talk about Kiwanis. We're going to take a little break.
Yes.
And we're going to come back to talk about your role in the Kiwanis
Yes.
movement internationally. And of course, our special guest is, as I said, Dr. the Honourable Godfrey Glengoffe Dyer. He is an awardee, multiple awardee, the National Award Order of Jamaica for exceptional contribution to tourism. He has another National Award, Order of Distinction in the Commander rank CD. He is or was a distinguished Lieutenant Governor with Kiwanis International, Special International Award there, Distinguished Governor's Award for Leadership. He is a Robert F. Connolly Distinguished Awardee in Kiwanis International, and it is its highest honor, highest award. He has the St. James Parish Award for Service in Tourism, the Prime Minister's Distinguished Award for Service in Tourism, Lifetime Achievement given by the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association. And when I come back, I want for him to tell me, how does it feel to have a street named in your honor in your lifetime? Because he had a citation from the St. James Municipal Corporation, which renamed Sunset Boulevard here in Montego Bay to the Godfrey Dyer Boulevard. We take a break. We'll be right back.
In tourism, the people are the product. Yes, they are one of our industry's most important assets. They help create memorable lifetime experiences. They, through their service, make the difference. We share the stories of their challenges and triumphs, of what makes them tick, of who they really are, just to inspire you to act positively. You too can be an ambassador for tourism and our country and become a Jamaican tourism titan. Start today.
TPDCO's Explore Jamaica has insights into licensed tourism entities across Jamaica. Visit the Google or Apple Play Store and download the app today. Welcome back. You're listening to Jamaica's Tourism Titans, and I have a titan with me in the studio, Dr. the Honourable Godfrey Glengoffe Dyer, OJCDJP. He is the chairman of the Tourism Enhancement Fund. He was between 2007 and 11, and since 2016, he has been the chairman of that very important agency of the Ministry of Tourism. He also serves as director at the Montego Bay Convention Center, and he is a member of the UDC Advisory Council. Oh, there's a long list. Welcome back, Mr. Dyer. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
All right.
But can I tell you one thing?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing I'm chairman of now, Tourism Enhancement Fund.
Mm-hmm.
I call myself the co-architect of the TEF.
Yes.
Quickly, I'll tell you, it was under Minister Samba. Minister Samba, I was then president, second time president at the JHTA. She called me into a meeting in Kenya. She said, Godfrey, we have a tourism master plan. Can't do anything. We need to raise some money. What do we need to do? And we started chatting. Me say, all right, I'm willing to bring my counseling and we discuss it. Brought my counseling another week or so, and we started discussing it until we arrive at this TF, how it could work. And two major hoteliers wouldn't agree. Butch and John Issa. I lobbied the entire industry. 99% of the others agreed. Those two wouldn't agree. I started working on them, until I won over Butch. But I couldn't win over them. And I said, Minister, we can go with this. I just wanted at least one of them.
Yes.
And that was how it started.
And the TEF.
So I was a director from day one, although it was under a PNP administration when it was done.
Yes.
But Minister Samba and I work as if, you know.
Yes. And that's so important
Yes.
because we know that the industry serves all
Right,
of Jamaica.
Right. Politics should have
Yes,
nothing to
have
do with
nothing
it.
to do with
you know.
it. Yes. But tell me now, because you have been a Kiwanian for many years, and I'm going to probably jump back to your other business ventures.
Yeah.
When I worked for you at one point at Hot 102,
Yes.
and then of course SumFest, which came about as a result of Sunsplash going
Yes,
on.
yes.
We'll come back and talk a little bit about that, but I want to talk a little bit about your contribution to Kiwanis
Yes.
locally and internationally. Tell us about
And
that.
I'll do it quickly. 1970, I was stationed in Falmouth. And a couple of guys came to me and said they want to form a new Kiwanis club. And I joined with them, and we formed a club in Falmouth. And this was 1970. By 74, they said they want me to run as president. I ran, won, and served as president. By 76, they said they want me to run as lieutenant governor. That time, the division for lieutenant governor was half northern Jamaica and Grand Cayman. I ran and won. So I served for a year as lieutenant governor for Jamaica and northern Jamaica and Grand Cayman. And I ended up with a distinguished award for lieutenant governor.
Yes.
A few years later, a position with the annual position for governor for the district. Now the district is Eastern Canada and 14 Caribbean islands.
Okay.
I ran for it and I won. And after a year of service, I was the first after 15 years to earn a distinguished position.
Yes.
That means 14 governors before me
Yes. Did
never
not.
earned
Yes.
it.
Yes.
You know? I served at that. Then I was asked to join the international now. I joined it. I served 5 years as a director and then was elected as president. It was in 89 countries at the time. I traveled to about 10 of those countries.
But you'd have had to do quite a bit of lobbying, or at least have persons on the ground who would.
People lobbied for me.
Advocate.
I'm just lucky. People lobbied for me. And I served for a year. And I'm in that position. I'm the only non-American to have served in that position so far.
Quite an achievement. I remember that time.
That's the Kiwanis International Foundation.
I remember that time because they were trying to do a major campaign worldwide with which had to do with fluoride
Yes.
in the
and,
water.
and we raised, there was a 75 million
Yes.
target.
Yes.
And in my year, we raised 30 million of that.
Wow. Wow. All right. So tell me now, how does it feel to have a street named in your honor when you can still drive on it? You know these things always happen posthumously.
Yes. I've had a few shocks in my life, but this is one of the biggest shocks. Because I have ambition. I want to be all kind of thing. I have never dreamt of wanting a street named after me. It never came across my mind. And one day, I don't remember where I was, at some function, and the then mayor was there, Mayor Davis. And Mayor Davis said, by the way, Godfrey, we have decided to name a street after you. I said, what? He said, yes. I said, which street? He said, Sunset Boulevard. I froze. Because, when something...
Yes.
I dreamt of having the highest award there.
Yes.
I dreamt of everything, but never dreamt of this one. And it happened. It just happened.
And it's not just because you're just lucky.
Maybe I'm
It's
just
because,
lucky.
no, it's because you've been putting in the work and you are so deserving of such an honor. Now, what made you decide that, listen, I'm going to now get into entertainment, the entertainment side of the tourism industry, and get together a group of people who could put on something like a reggae SumFest,
Well, let
which
me tell
still
you.
to today,
Yes.
matter of fact, I saw it being advertised recently that
Yes.
it's coming up in another couple of months.
It's coming up.
Yes.
SumFest, it was Sunsplash before that. And Sunsplash was down here. And they were at Jarrett Park. Then the last 3 years or so over by Freeport.
Yes, I remember as a young girl, as a teenager, seeing Bob Marley perform.
Yes,
at SumFest, at Sunsplash,
Sunsplash up by Jarrett
up
Park.
at Jarrett
I
Park,
was
and Peter
there.
Tosh.
I was there that
Oh
night.
my goodness!
Yes.
That was such a.
So, and I was chapter chairman for a long time down here for JHTA. So I get rooms for them for a number of years.
Yes.
So we got close. It turned out that the land over Freeport was sold. I was one of the purchasers. It was 10 of us that bought it. So when they heard they can't have Sunsplash there again,
Sunsplash, yes.
UDC said they're fixing the place there now. They said no, this place is swamp. And they said they're moving to Kingston. Vendors and everybody's coming to me at work so daily. I said, Dyer, what you going to do for help us? And I met back with Sunsplash people. I got my partners to say, I said to them, we're not building over there now. Let us allow them, if UDC doesn't finish the place, allow them to have it. And they have agreed. So I called back Sunsplash and I said, look, the owners said they will allow you. You said UDC not going to finish. If they're not, they'll allow you to have it. I said, we don't want anything again. We have made up our minds. We're going to Kingston.
And that would have been quite a bit of an economic activity
Yes.
for Montegonians
Yes,
in particular.
it was a big
Yes.
thing. A lot of Montegonians depending, and they were pestering me. And me said, the last meeting we had, I got mad with them. Me say, somebody just going to get up and start something, and you can't come back. And so we don't care. We don't want to come back. So after a couple of weeks, some people bother me. I said, I don't know nothing about music. And I'm talking with somebody, and him say, him hear that Mickey Morris want to have a concert. I said, really? I know Mickey. I called him. I said, Mickey, I heard you want to have a concert. He said, yes, I think. He said, come meet with me. He brought Sidney Reed and Wild Crooks
Yes.
and met with me. And we start. I said, we start something, man. That was how we started. And we discussed it. I was the chairman. And Mickey Morris was the executive director. And we planned how we get in the finance. We're going to invite these men. So Johnny and Robert and all those people, we invited them
Yes.
to the next meeting until we got these members. And we put on, it's still one of the best SumFest.
Shows, yes.
We had that first year.
I remember.
That first year.
I remember.
And so I was president chairman for first 3 years.
Yes.
And it was that time when I was appointed governor. And as governor for Kiwanis, I had to be away a
Yes,
lot.
and all over the place.
So I stand down and Lucy Lou took over.
Oh, blessed memory.
So after Lucille, Robert.
Yes. All right. I mean, there's so many things we can talk about. Our special guest he says he celebrated 85 years just a couple of weeks ago. And
85 great years.
where do you get all of this stamina and all of this vim? Mr. Siago would call it vim, vigor, and vitality.
I have faith in the good Lord.
Yes.
Total confidence in him. I don't worry about anything.
Tell me how to do that.
I don't know. The worst thing happened to me, and some bad things have happened. I'll worry for 1, maybe 2 days. And I'll say, what the hell? Let me find a way out. So I don't worry about anything. So nothing depresses me.
Yes.
And I just carry on.
One day at a time.
One day at a time.
But what keeps you motivated, and what do you hope that at the end of all of the work that you're putting in, have put in, continue to put in, what do you anticipate that your legacy will be? You've been putting in a lot of work with the Tourism Enhancement Fund in recent years as well, and you're always there.
I just hope people will be inspired by it to do something to help as well. And as long, mind you, I won't be able to serve much longer, but I just go on with things, you know.
And my final question relates to the degree that you got, the honorary doctoral degree, honoris causa, that you received in 2022 from the University College of the Caribbean. What does that mean to you?
That was another shock. No, I don't cry. I cried when I heard.
Oh, my goodness.
Who told me? My wife. One day, you know, she said, Godfrey, I'm told to tell you something. If you will accept the appointment of an honorary doctorate from the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean. I say, you serious or what? She said, yes. Water fell from my eye, and I don't cry too easily.
The big men don't cry.
A shock. The two shocking things, the street and that.
Yes.
I had no aspirations for them, and they happened.
It's a blessing.
It's a blessing.
It's a
blessing. Real blessing.
It's a blessing.
Real blessing.
We have seen the work over the years. You have sown good seeds.
I tried.
and at the end of the day, you are reaping the reward of your labors.
Yes.
And tourism, I believe, as an economic driver in Jamaica, has been the better for having your contributions.
And thanks, and you're very kind too.
Thank you so much for talking with us. There's so much more we could talk about, but time will not allow us. But I want to thank you on behalf of the people of Jamaica, and in particular those persons who this industry is so very dear to, who make a living, who make a life, who send their children to school, who it gives hope for the future.
And thank you too, because you have been doing a wonderful job. Keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dyer. It's
Thanks
a
so
pleasure.
much. Thanks so much.
All right, so there you have it, our tourism titan for this final episode in season 1.
Yes.
And we could not have done it in a better way. Thank you so much for listening to Tourism Titans. We welcome your feedback at letUsKnow@tpdco.org. Leave us a comment, share, like, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TPDCOJA. I'm Marline Stephenson Dalley. See you soon.